Welcome to the all-new, first ever 2025 Genesis GV80 Coupe. Bit of an interesting move here by Genesis to jump on the Coupe SUV train, but here we are. So let's go through some baseline numbers. We'll go with the perks, quirks, and irks, touch on pricing, competition, and that should wrap us up. So baseline numbers start off with the engine being a 3.5 liter turbocharged V6 with a 48-volt electronic supercharger, 409 horsepower, 405 pound-feet of torque, all-wheel drive, and it's through an 8-speed automatic transmission with the paddle shifters. And Genesis says this is their most powerful gasoline-only model. Their EVs have a lot more power, but that's what we're looking at. For comparison, the most powerful GV80 regular-shaped SUV you can get comes with a 3.5 liter engine. Again, 375 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque through a turbocharged V6. So you do get a little more power here, and that's thanks to the electric supercharger. With a coupe body style, you lose some cargo space. So here's what the GV80 Coupe has. I'm gonna be sure to say GV80 because I've said G80 a couple of times in my practice runs. So GV80 Coupe cargo figures 829 liters behind the second row, and you fold that flat and you get 1,729 liters. So not too bad, still functional, still usable. For comparison, the regular shaped GV80, 1,095 behind the second row and 2,013 with that second row folded down. So with the coupe, you lose 266 liters of cargo space with the second row seats up, and you lose 284 liters with that second row down. So not too much. The second most important set of numbers here are the 2024 sales in Canada. So there were 1,187 regular shaped GV80 Coupes sold in Canada in 2024, an uptick of 6.4% over 2023. Now, the GV80 Coupe showed up around mid-year. So let's just call it a 6-month sales report here. So 226 coupes were sold. So out of all of the GV80s, coupe and regular style, 15% were off the coupe body style. So even if we double that to get a full year's worth of sales, hypothetically based off what they did in 2024, that would be approximately 30%, which is a little higher than I thought it would be. These coupe SUVs are pretty unique and not quite rare, but they're very niche. You know, the X6, the Q8, the Cayenne Coupe, the GLE Coupe as well. So surprising that there's that many sold in 2024. We'll see what the rest of the year looks like for 2025. So now that your numbers are out of the way, let's jump into the perk side of things. And interestingly, this is better on fuel than the regular shape one. Here we get a combined 12 liters per 100 kilometers. In the regular shape one, we have 12.7 liters per 100 kilometers. I don't think fuel consumption is on anyone's primary or even secondary list here if you are buying a luxury performance SUV. Next up is that it drives extremely well, and for a taller and longer vehicle, handling is surprisingly good. You know, I wasn't expecting it to be all sorts of wobbly, but I was pleasantly surprised at just how well the GV80 Coupe hangs on to turns, low speeds, high speeds, stays pretty flat, nice linear power expression as well. So I'm pretty happy with it, and that's the kind of stuff you'd expect when you're spending over 6 figures for a luxury SUV. You know, you want that driving side to really be prevalent. Next up is the Genesis all-in-one pricing, and it's not unique to the GV80 Coupe, but it's still worth mentioning in the perks pile because, you know, it is that all-in-one pricing. There's no freight and there's no PDI. Basically, you're just taking the MSRP and adding, you know, your options. In this case, it's just color options, and a few accessories if you so choose. And that's pretty much the long, middle, and short of it. So that certainly helps them be competitive. And Genesis is a value leader for what you get versus the cost associated with it. Everything's included. So all the cameras, the digital rearview mirror, the cooled and massaging front seats, the heated and cooled second row, the power second row. For the outboard seats, you can go forwards, backwards, and you can recline the seat back as well. You get so many premium and luxury features here out of the box. You don't have to go and, you know, play with options, you know, outside of color, but everything's here. You know, the wireless charging, wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, the head-up display, the big panoramic sunroof, 22-inch wheels, 14-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system, actually 18 speakers, sorry, and 1400 watts. Next up is the 27-inch OLED screen, and that covers your infotainment system as well as your instrument cluster. It's a nice thin screen. It's not chunky at all. The resolution is so high, and it still uses the Genesis operating system, which is, to me, one of the better ones. You do have the rotary dial if you so choose to go that way and keep fingerprints off your screen, but it's close enough to the driver and the front passenger that you can just reach out, do your controls, and then put your hands back on the wheel if you are operating it from the driver's seat. And a lot of cool things here. There's a 3D setup option, which lets you kind of take a shortcut to some of your key features and settings, which is nice, as opposed to digging through 2, 3, 4 different layers of the infotainment system to get to what you want. The high quality materials are another perk, and it's, again, not exclusive to the Genesis brand. All Genesis vehicles have this, but they've gone a little over and above here, just with this nice clean line of double stitching, which matches the color of the seat belts. Nice soft touch materials throughout. You have that carbon fiber line through the dash panel. I don't mind it. I don't love it. I'd like to see something with a bit of a cleaner look to it as opposed to the design they have here, but it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. But what I can say is, just looking around, all your touch points are of the highest quality. The seats feel great. Massaging seats as well come standard. Everything you see here comes standard because there's only one trim. Steering wheel feels really good. And just everything is where it's supposed to be. And, for a luxury vehicle, some manufacturers make you go up to higher trims to get better materials. But here, out of the box, everything is top notch and high quality for me. On to the quirk side of things. And the biggest quirk is the GV80 Coupe itself. I was a little unsure when Genesis launched with 3 sedans, and I was a little unsure when I first heard the news that they were coming out with a coupe body style for their largest SUV, being the GV80. But to allocate all of these resources and research and development into creating a coupe body style for one of their SUVs, I think it's a little quirky overall. Now, I know that BMW and Mercedes and Audi and Porsche have one as well. And if we go way back, we can look at the gasoline-powered ZDX. But I know, I don't know if I would have done the same thing as opposed to allocating resources towards something else. In Canada, you get a set of 20-inch winter tires. They're the Michelin X-Ice snow tires. And you get the winter rims and you get storage covered. And what's interesting, just after a little bit of digging online, an average set of Michelin X-Ice snow tires are about $400 for the specs that Genesis Canada put in their website. So that's $1,600 right off the top. Rims, even at $500 a piece, that's $2,000. So $3,600, almost $4,000. I feel if they kept that out of the equation, they could have gone with an MSRP of even $99,999 instead of cracking that 6-figure point. And maybe it's optics, where if you have a 6-figure vehicle in your luxury lineup, maybe that comes with some prestige to it or whatnot. Last quirk is how you set your audio levels. And through the Bang & Olufsen 18-speaker 1400 watt system, they have this option for setting it called Biosonic. And it's not your traditional treble, mid, and bass, and it's not like you have your equalizer where you can pick and choose different levels of the different hertz. Here it's a circle, and you just tap your finger at various points up the circle to get a mix of treble and bass. On to the Irks side of things. The big one for me is the HVAC system. It's on a separate screen. It's pretty low down. Buttons are kind of small for pretty much everything except for the temperature controls itself, and those are dials. I don't like it at all. I know you can set it to auto and just leave it like that, but your heated seat, your cooled seat, your heated steering wheel controls, they're all on here. And I've never liked the idea of having HVAC controls on a screen, and you're taking your eyes off the road for a couple of seconds longer than you should, and you're stabbing away at things, and you're still glancing away, as opposed to having it either higher up or having some physical buttons included in the mix as well. The camera for the digital rear view mirror is outside of the vehicle, just right of center if you're looking at the GV80 Coupe head-on. I know some manufacturers put the camera on the inside, and that just keeps it clean and dust-free. Being higher up, there's a low chance of anything getting in the way of it, but it's still open and exposed to the elements. So I would have liked to have seen that somewhere on the inside of that rear glass. I know there's no rear wiper on any of these coupes, the X6, the GLE, the Cayenne, and the Q8, but if you watch the Macan video I put up, that does not come with a rear wiper, but for 410 bucks you can get one. And we know they know how to make a rear wiper on the GV80 regular style itself, so why not add that option? Lastly, there is no spare tire. There is a tire fill kit, and normally I wouldn't care, but during my test week, I got into a bit of an argument with a pothole just out of north of Toronto around 10 o'clock at night, and I didn't scratch the rim miraculously, but the tire had a huge gash in the sidewall. And I'm like, oh, I'll just, duck around back and put my hazards on, jack the car up, change the tire, and I'm back on the road, but no such luck. So I had to call CAA and get it flatbedded back to where we get our Genesis Media vehicles, and it was more of an inconvenience, a very first world problem, like absolutely. But even a donut-ish, I guess whatever a donut would be for a 22-inch tire, just something so that I'm able to get back on the road a little faster than I would have. On to the pricing side, and the MSRP in Canada is $104,000, which is odd because that's what my website builder says for the Genesis Canada site, but on one of the main landing pages it says $104,150. So take from that what you will, but I'm going with $104,000 because that was my spec sheet, and that's what's in the builder. Now, there's 8 different exterior color choices. There are 2 matte options for $1,700. There's one of the whites and a dark green. The other 6 are your regular gloss paint colors, and those go for $500. And there are 4 different interiors you can get. So you get a little bit of customization. So the X6 for 2025 has an MSRP of $94,300. There are 2 GLEs I picked. I picked the GLE AMG 53. That comes in at $120,900. That's the higher output one. It's not the 63, it's kind of in the middle. Well, actually it is in the middle. And then I went with the regular the regular GLE 450. There's so many letters here. And that's $99,000 for an MSRP. The Audi Q8. It's the regular Q8 is $92,350. It's not exactly a fair fight because the SQ8 has around 500 horsepower, but it's good to put on the mix as well. And $121,850 is the MSRP there. Looking at the Cayenne Coupe, entry-level one, which is weird, I shouldn't call it an entry-level one. The first one in the options for the Cayenne Coupe lineup comes in at $98,800. Again, a lot of value here for the money. I'm not sure if customers still see the Genesis being slightly below the German luxury brands, or even with them. I think it's going to be a longer battle for that. Genesis has only been around since 2017, and we're in 2025 now, so they're not even 10 years into existence as a standalone luxury brand. So far so good for them. They've recorded their best sales year in 2024. What I'll wrap up with is that out of the 2, the GV80 Coupe and the GV80 regular body style, the regular body style is more of that family-oriented hauler, and you get a little more cargo space out of it, and it's really that utilitarian side of things. And with the GV80 Coupe, it's more of the driver's preference. You want that extra power. You want, again, those larger tires. You want something that corners and handles a little more precisely than the regular style of the GV80. And there's nothing wrong with either choice. That's going to wrap it up for the 2025 Genesis GV80 Coupe. Let me know if you have any questions on what you've seen. I'm more than happy to get you answers as soon as possible and engage in respectful dialogue online. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the support. I encourage you to join our social media platforms. We are on all of the major ones. Without you, there's no modern motoring, so thank you. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.